Now, as much as those of us who visit Chicago enjoy all that the city has to offer, for natives, there is a pride that is palpable. Jim Pohlman is the car chief for David Stremmy's number 40. He's also worked with, among others, Bill Elliott in his career. Today is a home game for Jim Pohlman. Matt Yoakum caught up with the man whose family has been behind the wheel or under the hood in this city for about as long as they've been racing here.
Soldier Field is one of the most storied facilities in all of sports. 80-plus years of special moments have taken place right here. You might be surprised to learn that NFL great Walter Payton and even the Refrigerator Perry have something in common with a racing family from the South Side, the Pohlmans. When you look at racing as far as the Pohlman family, it wasn't just where all of a sudden you got hooked on it in high school. This is something that's been handed down from generation to generation.
Yeah, absolutely. My grandfather started late 40s, early 50s. My uncles were always involved. My dad was always involved. That's how life was. It was, you know, you spent your weekends at the racetrack racing.
Spending time with your grandfather, take us back to some of the great stories that he would say, hey, you know, Jim, this is what it was like back in the day.
They used to race about 4 nights a week, depending on what was going on. Soldiers Field here only held like larger events for them in this area. You know, they ran Mercury cars straight from the factory that they would gut, put roll bars in, and, you know, go out and race. So it was pretty neat.
Just think of the cars. Turn 2 right here, coming out of turn 2, getting on the gas to go down the straightaway. I mean, that must have been insane.
It had to be, especially with the history of this place, knowing that my grandfather was one of the guys that was center stage out there on a race day, just like a Gale Sears or a Dick Buckus was on a football day. You know, the history is just amazing.
Do you remember when you were 5 or 6 and going to the races with your family?
Yeah, absolutely. 5 years old, I remember started out in RC cars. My dad started me in them. And I could tell you what wedge and nose weight was at the age of 5. I could tell you what was in my race car.
Take me on Jim Pohlman's racing resume from the time you graduated high school until you moved south.
It kind of goes back to in high school, racing with my cousin, you know, traveling all over with him, which he was a Saturday night race team. Then we moved into, I started to work for Tony Izzo Jr. And we traveled so much and won so many races together. From that point on, it kind of just got to a point where I felt personally like I had hit a level of like a plateau. And it was time for me to try and go to the next level.
So for you, what's the biggest win of your career?
Brickyard. When we won Indy, man, it was really special to be a part of that.
What's the biggest thing that stands out after you won the race?
I'd have to say it was probably Ray. You know, we kind of had a little bit of a moment where we shook hands and, you know, there was kind of a tear in each other's eye. You know, it was really special. That day was kind of like the defining moment of Evernham Motorsports has made it.
This is a home game for Jim Pohlman,
Absolutely.
So this has to take on an even greater.
Absolutely. Your emotions come out. You show every emotion that you have. The preparation that for me, that when we come here is mentally just as much as you go to Indy or you go to Daytona 500 for me, just because it's your home track.